Hello friends, it is time for a new tutorial series because, well, the previous 3D project that I made, it broke, basically. I believe there was too long a while between a couple Adventure Creator updates, so when I updated that, it just broke everything. So that's a good lesson for you if you're making a game and there's like a considerable update, back up your project. I mean, I've been updating my main project for Evelyn 2 as the updates came out, so there's not a long time between those updates. So like that, it seems to be fine, but if there's a long time between two updates, there's so much that has changed, it has the potential to break your project. So just keep that in mind. And the same applies to Unity version you are using. But now we shall start over once more. And this time we are doing 2D. Someone asked for 2D tutorials, and the 2D tutorial that I've made is quite outdated, so I want to go and work with this. And Unity version is 6.3.11 F1 right now. We select the Universal 2D core, and you should, if you start making a game, you should choose Universal RP, 2D, 3D, whatever, because the high definition render pipeline is going to be outdated. They are going to remove the HDRP and the built-in render pipeline. So the universal render pipeline is going to be the basis for future projects. And to name our project, we will just use our very bright minds and come up with a smart project name like 2D AC tutorial. Wow, amazing. Create project. Unity will prepare your project for you. It will take a little while.
2,000 years later.
Okay, our project is ready to be built on. It only has a folder for scenes with the sample scene. We have a settings folder. Settings folder also has a scene. It has the URP 2D scene template. If you want to check what that is about, you can see it, but we won't be using that. And we have this default volume profile, input system, set actions, and universal render pipeline global settings. Let's just drag these to the settings folder. All of the weird little settings that you don't have to really look at this point can go here. We can look at those when it becomes relevant. Okay, open your package manager. If you don't have it docked here, you can find it here. Open window and package manager. It's here. Click on updates. Sometimes there may be some updates. We have visual scripting and Visual Studio Editor. We might not be using some of these, but I think it's good practice to just keep everything updated. So let's update those. Go to your My Assets folder. I have quite a lot, but to find Adventure Creator, you either search it here or just name ascending because, well, it's Adventure Creator. It's quite near to the top. I have it right here. And of course, you will need to buy Adventure Creator for you to find it here on Unity Asset Store. Currently, the version is 1.86.9. Import this to your project. You need to download it and then import. We won't be needing 2D demo or the demo. Everything else is fine. Import those. Adventure Creator will get this little window that it does some changes automatically. That's fine. And then that's done. We can go open this new window here, Adventure Creator, getting started, and click on New Game Wizard. This will guide you through how to start making your new game. Give it a name. We will choose our very imaginative 2D AC tutorial. And we are going with 2D. We are using direct movement. Point and click is very classic, but we want to use direct for this tutorial. We are using mouse and keyboard. The interactions can be context sensitive. This is always, all of these settings are your personal preference. choose hotspot, then interaction, or choose interaction, then hotspot. But we will be using context sensitive. What templates do we need? 2D sample player, 2D sample scene. No, we won't be needing those. Input system integration is quite important. You will want to use the new input system. There's also some other stuff like 9 verbs interface if you're going really retro. This is quite fun. You can have animated cursor, cutscene borders. Graphic options is also quite common to have in games. It's quite important for people to be able to change their graphics. And if you don't choose anything from these, you can always just also add these later on. We will be just going with the input system integration because that's pretty important to have in any game. Here you can review your choices, then just click create. Adventure Creator will prepare all the according files depending on your choices. So there's some warnings that Adventure Creator gives. You can quite safely just ignore all of those. Here is the AC Game Editor window. You can lock the tab here. It will give you an option to create your scene structure. We will use with folders. So it will give these nice folders everywhere. This is sample scene, but it's fine. We can use the sample scene to create like a base that we build everything on. So game engine, I want it to be at the top. Doesn't really matter, but I want to keep this like clean. And global light 2D will go into the lights folder here. And main camera we will drag under cameras. Nice. Everything here is as we want to. Let's save that. And let's go through our settings first. So under AC Game Editor settings, most of these are, again, you set these how you want them to. It's up to you, but I will choose and explain why I choose what I choose. Max number of saves, 5 is fine for now. Save file name, you can change it here too. I will use editor prefix for edit of save files so we can differentiate editor saves from the actual build saves when we get to that point. Time display, time and date is pretty nice to have. Date only is just the date, so if you want to like more clearly show the player under your saves the time, they will know which is the latest save. We can compress save files just a little bit more compressed file sizes for your saves. Don't know how much that affects, but it's good to have. We will save using separate thread, so just a little bit more performant. Dialog options can be selected with number keys. That's quite common. I don't think there's anything under inventory that I want to change right now. Here we can see these inputs. You will want to make sure all of these inputs are in your input. Actions and movement. Here's some settings that you might want to check how this works. Tank controls, it's a nice feature, but we will be using relative to camera. Movement limitations if you want any. All of these settings determine how your player moves in the game. You can force an aspect ratio here and also cache camera.main variable. It's a little minor performance boost again. Here's the highlight material override. I'm not sure if we need this time. I remember in the first 2D tutorial we had to use this to make sure our sprites highlighted. Let's see when we get to that if we need to fiddle around with this. And we also always want to reload a scene when loading a save file and load scenes asynchronously. We can also add a loading screen if we want to. Show logs in console, just warnings or errors. I don't think we need to see anything else. When you build your game, you can set this to be never. It's a very minor performance boost like for your game. If you have all of these debug logs going into your console all the time, it's not needed in your build. Okay, that's everything for our settings. We can quickly look at the different other tabs here. We have the scene tab where we modify our scene. We add different prefabs here. Most of these will be important for us. We will be using a lot of these in this tutorial. Show how they work. And actually every 2D scene should have a default nav mesh, default camera, default player start is there already, sorting map, and a sound. I think all of these should at least be in your scene. We will be setting up our sorting map and nav mesh and everything accordingly. And the default sound is just there, so to make sure all of your menu audios play. Actions tab is just showing all of the different action categories and what's in them. You can check like what they do and everything. You don't really need to fiddle around with this. If you start adding custom actions, then this will become relevant. Variables is one of the most important tab here. You have your global variables and local variables, local for each different scene. And in the global variables, we automatically have input remindings. You do not want to touch this. This is related to your input system. If you change this, your game will break. It will not launch properly. That's variables, global and local. Here's inventory tab. All of the items, crafting things, documents, properties, categories, objectives. All of these things belong in the inventory tab. Categories are related to items. They can go into different categories and each item can have their own property. Speech manager. There's also something we want to change here. We want to scroll speech narration text. Yes. We can display subtitles forever until user skips it. And subtitles can be skipped. What else? Time before can skip. We want to add some minimal number here just to avoid the player accidentally skipping your text. Okay, what else? Here we can add a subtitle scrolling audio. We probably will add that. Speech scroll audio. I want to change this to speech audio because if someone doesn't like having the little sound with every letter that comes to your screen, you can turn it off in your options when you just turn down the speech. If it's SPX, it's along with everything else, all the other sounds in the game. Translation stuff happens here. We won't be going into that right now, but it's good to know that it's here. Oh yeah, there was also the default options down at the bottom of settings. By default, we want to show subtitles, speech volume, music volume. Usually players, especially people who record your game, want to lower the music volume a little bit. Speech and SFX are more important. Something like that is fine. Okay, we are gone through our speech cursor. Obviously, you change your cursor here to whatever you want. There's also these different, like, if you are using interaction icons, you can change them for each different interaction that you might have. And then is the menu manager. You will be spending a lot of time here. By default, it sets the source to be adventure creator, yes. And when we open the game window here, it will show all of these different menus that we can start modifying at one point. So we have everything from like pause menu, options menu, save, load, profiles if you need those, inventory. In-game menu is always there. Conversations, subtitles, containers, crafting, documents. These are very bare bones. These are just a base for you to build on. They're okay, they work, and it's quite simple to change also. All of our tabs are gone through. Let's see, let's go to our build profiles and player settings. If we go to the Adventure Creator tab, I always go and change the gizmo colors a little bit. I don't think this is that important for a 2D game though. But in 3D, if these are this high, they will be blocking your view a lot. Let's turn down those a little bit. I also don't think I need the autosave interval. It might stop your progress at some points when it just automatically saves stuff. If you have a very large scene with a lot of action lists and this is on, it will take a little bit of time to automatically save those. So let's see. If we create under the scene tab an on start cutscene, click the plus and you will have an on start cutscene in your sample scene now. If you click this, it will open up the action list editor. Let's bring this tab here. Here is the backbone of Adventure Creator. All of the coding basically happens here. There's a lot of different actions that you can use, and each action has their own list of things that can happen. For the sample scene though, I don't want that, so let's remove that and save it as is, because I believe this is a good base for our, like, where we start building from. So let's save as a new scene. So let's give it a name, scene 1, let's say. And this is where we can start building. We need to have a character for us to move around in a game. So I'm going to import some assets that I've bought. These are pop sprites by Malibu Derby in itch.io. I bought them from there. These can also be found on Steam, but that license is only for RPG Maker. But itch.io is open license, so you can use it anywhere. These sprites. I used these in the last 2D tutorial. I will use them here. Let's just pick the first female character there. I think, oh yes, I have already set up the sprites correctly. So if you are using pixel art sprites, I have the pixels per unit set to the size of the tile, basically, of the tile sets with these. So it's 48 is good. And pixel art always wants to have a filter mode of point, so no filter, and compression set to none. When you have this kind of sprite with multiple characters and animations for them, you will have to go in the sprite editor. You want to slice the sprites. You need to know the size of these sprites. So these are 48 by 96, I believe. And the pivot is at the bottom. And then when you click slice, it will be sliced perfectly. This always depends the sizes on, of course, the size of your sprites. So we will be using this character here. I believe they have a preset name also, so we will add in that name to it. So just drag the basic idle facing down whatever sprite as the default. Then go to editors under Adventure Creator. Here you can find all of the different editors, and one of these is Character Wizard. Here we create a character, and this will be player. Everything else will be NPC, unless you have multiple players. So it has taken the base game object of that, which we just placed in our scene. And this character's name is Daria. Configure, and the animation engine for this is Sprites Unity. You'll be adding collision. We don't need to auto add animator state for this. And create. And that's easy as that. It will have added the player script, circle collider, rigid body 2D, follow sorting map, audio source, paths, footstep sounds. All of these it has added to our character. And not only that, there's a child. The sprite is actually now the child of the game object. It has the sprite renderer and an animator. And it also has an audio source as another child for the footsteps. Okay, let's set up our player. The player script, we don't have sprites animations for talking, but we do have for idle and walking. So we will name this as our character underscore idle like this, and this Daria underscore walk. And what this does, because we have 4 facing directions, if you click on list expected animations, this will show you which of the different animations you will need. And since the character will want to have a run animation also, we can just copy paste the walk to the run, so it will be here then. If you have run animations for also, that's good, but we don't, so we will just have the walk animations the same on the run. We will be using retro style movement because we are retro characters, pixel art. It's pretty nice to have like that. Let's just turn down the icon sizes here. We are ignoring gravity. We can move with rigid body 2D. We can freeze rigid body when idle. And for smooth movement, rigid body's interpolation should be set to either interpolate or extrapolate. So let's do that. Under our rigid body, interpolate. I'm not entirely sure if we need to have a rigid body for the character though, but it's there for now. Let's test how it works. If your character has expressions, face animation, anything, you can add those textures here. And also the text scroll override, there's the audio for those if you want each of your characters to have different text scroll audios. And this 2D collider, depending on the size of your sprite, you might want to change this. So just make sure it's about the size of your, like it's at the feet of the character, not too big. This will just block us from going inside walls and whatever. We have footstep sounds at the bottom here. We will be playing sounds automatically, and well, I think we are always grounded, so this won't matter here. We are auto-detecting surface here. Now, how do auto-detecting surfaces go in 2D? I'm not entirely sure, so let's just uncheck that for now. We can check how the audio footsteps can be changed later on if we need to. And here we also have for the footstep sounds, walk separation, maybe a little less, run separation, maybe a little more. Around those values should be good. So this sprite, this is where we animate, and we want to open the sprite that we have our character in. And to start animating, just select the sprite, and on the animation tab, add it here. If you don't have it, you can add the tab here. Let's create. Let's bring it out of that folder. We can create a new folder called characters. Open that, create a new folder for our player character, and we can save it here for now. So this would be Daria underscore idle, and add the direction. So underscore D for down. So this is just the idle, so it's just this sprite, the same sprite that we added for this by default. Then create a new clip, then just same name, but just change the underscore and letter at the end. So now we go and find the left facing sprite here, then another, this will be right, place that there, and then idle up, and it is here. Okay, that's easy enough. Then let's change this to walk, and this is a little bit different. Grab all of those 3 walking animations, drag them into your animation window, drag those. I usually do it like this, so like just You could change the like the FPS of the animation, but this is like the default. I just use it like this. First sprite is just there. This is the step animation. This is the same as the idle. Just make sure it's at the 10th frame. And then the another step is at the 20th frame. And then just copy the idle and add it 2 times to 30 and 40. And that is a perfect stepping animation. Why do we add it 2 times? If we don't have it 2 times, it does like that. It lags. It should show the idle sprite between each step. So this is how I do my sprite animations. Now just do the same for each direction. Left. Drag all of the sprites in your walking animation. This also, of course, applies only to me because I have only these 3 sprites. However much you have to put them here in a way that it works for you. But this works for me, so I will be showing this. And then right. Drag all of those. Make sure the length of the animation is same for each animation. Then lastly, we go up and drag those, drag that, and place them like so. Now we have animations, basic, idle, and walking animations for our first character. Now that this player is set up, we will drag this to our project folder to make a prefab out of it. And we do not want to have the prefab of our player in the scene, so just delete that. And under settings, you can find characters and the player prefab. Drag your player prefab under here. Here we can allow for player switching if you would want to have multiple players. But we aren't doing that right now. Let's save the game and see, can we move around? Why are we not seeing our character? Let me show you. Under your camera that we added, it is on the Z value of 0. If we go -1, let's say, or -10, if we look at our main camera, it is also at -10. The size we can also change here under our navigation cam if needed. Okay, save that, play again. Well, hello, we see our player. And we can also move around. It's maybe a little slow, but we can move around. The camera is not currently following the player, but that's fine. This is just to show that our character is working. And all of the movement speeds and how fast they like turn and everything can be changed in the character settings. In your characters, these movement speeds, make sure you select what works for you. If we are using the retro style movement, then the acceleration and deceleration values are ignored and the player returns instantly when moving. But yeah, these speeds, change them to what feels right for you. Usually minimum run distance with retro style movement like these little sprites, I just turn that to 0. So the characters will always run if they are set to run. This is something that you want to check if you have like very small distances to something and you have an action list that says that this character runs here, but it won't run if the distance is too little, so I want to have this. So retro style movement ignores acceleration, deceleration, turn instantly. So I suppose the turn speed is also ignored, maybe. And let's check how this works without the rigid body 2D. Is it better or worse, or will our character move at all? It does move. And I believe this is a little bit more snappier without the rigid body, because, well, rigid bodies are usually used with like some physics. And since our character, our game is like this top-down, not like a side scroller or anything like that, we won't be jumping around or anything, so I don't think we need to have the rigid body on our character, and I believe the movement is a little bit snappier, like this. But yes, this is our player character now, and it works just fine. This is fine. Okay, I believe this is good place to end the first tutorial of the new series. I hope to be able to do more tutorials more frequently now. I'm still working on Forever 2. It's taking a while, but that's the main thing I'm working on. I hope to release it this year, and I want to do more of this tutorial and all kinds of stuff. I think we already have like 700 subscribers, which is kind of huge. But yeah, restarted Adventure Creator 2D tutorial, so it won't be as outdated as the old tutorial. Okay, thank you for watching. I hope to see you soon. Bye.